back to the cross. This one is chock full of great double stops, amazing things for your fingers, for your ear, for your technique. A lot of the double stops in this solo are straight out of my Essential Bluegrass Double Stops resource. Make sure to check that out. I have some PDFs and video resources that will make learning these double stops and picking them up in other contexts a lot more easy. We start this one with a B and a D note. Fairly easy double stop because we're the use of the open D string. For the next one, we go up by one note on each string, so that brings us to a C and an E. After that, we have a pretty tough transition here. We're going to find the notes D on the G string and G on the D string. So the way I'm doing that is a fourth finger on the D string and a third finger on the D string. Now that's a tough one to tune. Here's how I recommend practicing that. You can put both fingers down, but only play one string like this. You might find that the pinky tends to be flat. One thing to help make sure that the pinky is strong and rounded and landing in the right place is to, when you're playing on the G string, move your elbow in. That's going to change the angle of the finger. So notice as I bring my elbow out, it's going to be flat. So bringing the elbow towards the center of the body, really important for when you're trying to reach over for notes like this. Now I will do the same thing on the D string where I put both fingers down but only play the D string to see if those notes are in tune. That could be a great way to practice this. Once you feel like both of them are in tune, add them together. And make sure you attack with your bow strong enough to make it, both strings sound. So that's probably the toughest part of this solo. Next, we're just going to go up the closed position double stops. If you literally were to follow from the bottom to the top of my PDF or from the beginning of my resource on double stops, this is the exact order that they occur in. So we're going from a B and a D to a D and a G, and then to a G and a B. And the next one would be here. But that's going to actually be where we're thinking to arrive, but actually what Bobby Hicks does is he does a little suspension over those notes. So the suspension is going to be an E and a C on the D string and an E on the A string. Just touching those for a moment before you arrive actually on the B and the D note. So that sounds like this. Got that sort of suspension, meaning those notes are not in the chord, they're just like kind of hanging above them, and then you're resolving to the two notes that are in the G chord, a B and a D. So that's a really great statement to make in the beginning of the solo, is having these awesome double stops and also the suspended notes there. Now from here we have a number of notes that are not quite in the chord. So we're still in that G chord, excuse me. So the next two notes he plays are actually an A and a D together. Also, the A could be considered a suspension, but I think of these as just passing tones. So we have this A and D here moving down to a G and B. All double stops. Now we're switching chords here. We're going to go to the C chord, but instead of playing just notes out of the C chord, C and G as you'd expect, he's going to play the A note, which is the sixth, an A and a C. And he's only using that note for a second to color it before resolving it down to what you'd expect it to go to, which is a G and a C. So we have... And that's the last of our double stop section. Then we're sort of playing single notes for the end. So that's the part that you're really going to want to dig in. Make sure everything's in tune by playing slowly. And now we're going going to escape that difficult double stop section to some really nice licks here. We're still in the C chord, so we're going to continue with a C note on the G string and resolving to an E note on the D string. Now we have this little lick here getting us to the next arrival note. So just a little pattern there. The arrival here is a two D notes. That's an open D and a fourth finger on the G string. We're sliding into that to get this sound. So you can think of maybe this much as a phrase. Let's see. Now, we have a straight up G pentatonic lick this next part. We're jumping up from that D note that we just ended on to a G on the D string. And that's just up the G scale or G pentatonic scale. And actually we're coming back to that B note. And we have a C and an A there. That E note is a suspension as well, or it's the 6th of the G chord. Now we're just climbing up to the resolved G. Again, a lot of the use of the 4th finger just to avoid some string crossing. So we have... That's a lick there. Finally, we have this last two phrases. He could have ended it there, but of course, in typical Bobby Hicks style, has an extra little blues lick at the end. But let's learn this one right here. It starts on a B note, up to C, and then C sharp to the D note. So that's coming from just sort of a bebop or swing influenced set of notes here. Nice to play along with those notes. That's a great set of notes to just play around with in either direction. That B, C, C sharp, and D. Anyway, we're resolving to the G on the E string. Again, could be the end of a phrase, but he has this great blues tag at the end. And this is coming straight from the G blues scale. So G, F, D, D flat, C, B flat, and G. That's the blues scale going downward. But he plays this lick. It's a great one. So it's actually starting on that F natural note. And that's a typical sort of blues slide where I'm thinking of maybe starting on the C sharp note or D flat, but not quite getting to the D note. And there's actually a slide backwards down as well. So it's just a bend slightly up and back. And then a straight up B flat, landing on a G note. Even over a G major chord, that's what he's playing. Again, that's a great lick to transpose. If you were to play it down a string, that would be a C lick. That's a great way to play it there. And also, one little trick you can add is whenever you're playing that F note, you can actually, instead of just playing the sort of D flat blues slide, you can add the F note. It's a really great sound. Those two notes together sound really good, and C, that's just kind of adds an extra bite. I really love that sound there. And you can play with that as much as you want. Whenever whenever you really want to attack a note or really emphasize the blues element, those are great notes to combine together. That's the 7th, flat 7, and the 5th. And the combination of the 7th and the 5th is so prevalent that I actually have a separate resource that's dedicated to exploring that sound, the 7th and the 5th together, because it draws out a real bluesy element for the music, and it's worth knowing where those 5ths and 7ths occur on your instrument, how you can play different combinations of them. So learning this lick is a good way to just kind of get that sound in your head. Adding that there. I encourage you to transpose this into all the bluegrass keys. It works pretty good in a lot of different combinations of fingers. So if we're playing in an A, let's see. Or in D. Or in G. And actually, you can add that same 5th and 7th with a different set of fingers. Those two notes at the 7th and the 5th, that would be a 4th finger and a 2nd finger if you were to start this lick on a 3rd finger. So in general, this is a lick you can learn a lot from. Using the blues scale, using the 7th and the 5th, there's a lot to digest, I should say, out of this lick. And that kind of takes us through this whole thing. So we've got the great double stops in the beginning. We've got a good section of clean, major pentatonic licks. And then at the very end, we have this amazing blues lick that's worthy of transposing. So good luck with all these, and thanks for watching.